Hey guys, this is... Hey guys, Alvin!
Oh, don't look at me. That was your fault.
What are you talking about, Alvin? I'm supposed to be introducing this video. I was in it. Were you? No.
Why does that matter? I know Tom. He would want me to do this.
Yeah, we all know that, Alvin. But, let me do this and you can, do your own or something. Or maybe...
Listen, buddy, I already make my own. It's called the Munkcast, all right? How about you let me play on your PlayStation 4, and we can call it a deal. Deal?
Deal. Now, would you go and do that? And don't make too much noise, okay? I have to record this, and you know how much I hate noise.
Oh, fair enough. Final Fantasy, here I come.
Alvin, I don't have Final Fantasy.
You will soon enough.
Alvin! Don't you use my card. Okay, guys. This is our interview with Tom Watkins. He was a sound supervisor and provided his voice for several characters, including Alvin at some points. And he's a big inspiration to me because he did everything I want to do, which is work in the Chipmunk franchise. And even he's just doing miscellaneous voices and things like that. That is something I want to do just within the Chipmunk franchise because I want to give my 2 cents to the whole thing because I love them so much, obviously. So, yes, this is the interview that we did with Tom Watkins. Enjoy.
I'm asking this because I'm a bit of a voice actor myself, and I heard you voiced a lot of characters on the 80s show. Was it hard keeping all of the voices straight and remembering how to do all the different voices?
That's a good question because I did so many voices over the years that I was there. I mean, hundreds of different characters. And some of the ones that were more popular that we reintroduced into different shows, I actually, like Uncle Adventure, I had to go back and listen to him again. Just, okay, how did I do that? But it was really just, we're in the recording studio and, hey, we've got all these extra characters to do. Come up with something on the fly, which was kind of fun. So, the major characters, it was really just kind of playing with it after Ross and Janice finished their part, because Ross would come in first and he would do Alvin, Simon, and Dave. Janice would come in and do Theodore and all the Chipettes. After that, it's like, Tom, what else you got left? And so I would go, you got this, we got a robot car, we've got Uncle Willie, we've got this, we've got that. Oh, okay, see you later. So I got to play every day in recording. So it was really just whatever popped into my head at the time.
You say that Ross recorded the Chipmunks and Dave. Did he do that all in one day?
Yes. Yeah, he would start with Alvin because doing Alvin was the hardest on his throat. And then he would go to Simon, because Simon's a little more relaxed and Ross could just, put it out there. And then Dave, he did last because it was just his voice at normal speed. He didn't have to slow down his voice during the recording session. So, he would go through the whole script just in a few hours.
Was he always happy with the first take, or would he just keep, doing it again and again and again?
Ross's method of recording was kind of unusual. I had to put like 3 music stands in front of him, and we took the script and I color-coded all the scripts. So I highlighted Alvin in red, Simon in blue, and so Ross would spread them all out. So whenever he saw red, he knew the next line to go to. So he spread out like pages 1 through 4, and I would key the mic. All right, this is Alvin lines 1 through 27, takes 1 and 2. So Ross would go through everything once, and then he'd go through it again the second time, and then we would rewind the tape, we would listen to it, and then he and I would pick the best takes that he liked. And sometimes if he didn't like any of them, we'd go back. This is pickup line number 17, takes 3 and 4. So it was kind of like that. The editors hated it, by the way, because all the other shows, The Simpsons and more shows that have different actors playing different roles.
Oh, right.
They did it like a play. So the editors, they were able to cut it easily, but with Ross, they hated editing our show.
It seems like you guys actually did it, how we do here with our web show. That's pretty cool.
Our scripts are the same. We highlight, we color code the characters, depending on who they are,
Right.
For my scripts, I actually have 6 different colored pens.
Hey, it's
Just makes things
that's
easy.
perfect. That's how we did it. So, but with each character having a different tape speed, he couldn't do Alvin and Simon together because we slowed the tape speed down
to a certain
differently for different characters.
Yeah. That's how I do it as well. Although I had to figure out the speeds myself, because no one told me.
I guess I could go next now.
Sure.
If you got a question, you just spit it out, just whatever.
Okay. This is kind of like a weird question, I guess, but what is your reaction to OCs, like original characters or like recolors of like Alvin and the Chipmunks?
Over the years, I've seen a lot of different fan art and everything, and I think it's all great. It everybody takes something from the characters, and it doesn't bother me at all. I think it's actually kind of cool to see people's different interpretations and what they can do with it, and no, it's kind of fun actually.
And what is your reaction to fan videos, like on YouTube, with either OC or Alvin Chipmunks? What's your reaction to that as well?
Honestly, before I kind of got together with you guys, I didn't really search much for Alvin, to be really honest with you, because again, it's been like 22, 24 years since I was involved with it, so I don't really search YouTube for it, but there's all levels of fan stuff. Some can be really great, some can be simple and rudimentary. I personally think that it's all done with love, and it's whatever people like.
I had a question as well. During the production of the TV series, did you guys ever record full songs of the that were to go in the episodes, but obviously they were cut when they go in the episodes, that were actually never released on CD, because there is Vacation and a couple songs that were in the 80s series but were never released on albums?
Because albums didn't come out as often, I guess, as the shows. I mean, we cranked out a lot of music for the shows. It's a good question. I don't know why. I mean, a lot of the songs were themed to a certain album, like Chipmunk Punk or Urban Chipmunk. We did albums, but it was really interesting. So what song should be on this album? And we would sit and talk about it. And I mean, it would be kind of fun if they did, songs from the series. No, it's a really good question. There were a lot of songs that didn't get full versions. Some of the songs in the shows were kind of truncated. They weren't the full version. So it would mean going back into the studio to do the entire song. So that might have been a reason. Yeah, there were different actors or different singers who would do the music. Ross and Janice couldn't sing a lick. So, there was this guy, Sherwood Ball, sang Alvin, and Rainey Hayes sang the girls. And, you think doing voices in Chipmunks is kind of tough, but baby, when you have to sing it, wow, it's really hard, because the track is laid down and they have the headphones on, and they've got to stretch notes really long sometimes. And it was amazing what those guys did. So
speaking of the voices and doing the voices, did you ever actually voice Alvin? Because there was kind of a rumor that you did once when Ross couldn't.
The rumor is true, my dear. Yes. It was one of those days where Ross was just feeling awful. I mean, he looked like death warmed over, and we had a recording session scheduled that day, and it's like he knew it. He came into the studio and, Tom, I can't record today. And I'm like, they need this episode in the can today. There's no way around it, because it has to be cut tomorrow. And so he threw up his hands, and we went over to the studio, and he decided to do Simon and Dave because he wanted to at least get that done because Alvin was going to really just tear his throat up. So I'm feeding him Hall's mental liftus and cough drops and to his credit, he got mostly the way through Alvin, and then he was just finally like, "All right, that's it. I'm done. I don't give a I won't swear, but I won't give a bleep bleep."
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and I Ross, look, I really hate to do this, but we really need it. And he looked at me at the glass, and I remember this. He looked at me, and he put his finger in the air, and he went, "Come here," like a little gesture. So I was like, "Oh, this is going to be interesting." So it's like, "Oh my, am I really going to do Alvin? All right." So we went in there, and there were a handful of lines left, and so I did my best, and he thought it was pretty good. Ross has that timbre in his voice.
Oh yeah.
That
I know it.
so
Yeah.
I tried to imitate Ross doing Alvin, which was kind of embarrassing, but
Got the job.
it worked out real well, and he was pleased, and he gave me some pointers, and but it's like don't get any ideas. So.
Wow, that must have been a lot of pressure. Were you worried someone would know it wasn't Ross?
No, I mean we had done so many together. Whenever you see the boys like falling down or landing hard, and they go oof or whoa, that was Ross and I doing those together. So, and one song, one episode, we actually sang ooh ee ooh ah ah, ting tang walla walla bing bang together. So that was like, that's kind of classic. But
May I ask what episode it was that you did the voice for Alvin?
Someone asked me that, and
That was me.
it's been so long, and it was kind of just another day. So I don't really remember what episode it was because there was so many, and it just kind of, I'll call it a senior moment that I don't remember.
It's okay. I was just wondering, because I kind of have an ear for that kind of stuff, so if Alvin sounds a little bit different, I might be able to recognize it, but...
If they would come out with all the episodes on DVD, that'd be awesome, and I could watch them again, so...
Oh, they actually have some of them out on DVD.
Yeah.
I actually
But
own some myself.
they should do all of them, like a box
I know.
set.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of them
Yeah,
are
exactly.
VHS. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why they don't do it, but
I think I know why.
why's that?
It's because of they have to get clearances from all the songs they covered.
Yeah, there's a lot.
I would imagine they already have that. They did it in the first place.
Well, they had to replace a few songs in some of the episodes in some of the DVD. The newer
Because the
DVDs.
laws change. Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I think.
And,
See, you guys probably know some stuff I don't, so there you go.
well, we try to, keep up to all the news and stuff on the Chipmunks. We are
That's
very
cool.
dedicated to them.
Yeah.
Yes, very.
Very,
Wasn't
very,
for us,
very.
the franchise would have been forgotten for a while.
Yeah, after it ended on NBC, there was kind of a lull, and then they did some merchandising and that kind of stuff, and then I think Janice did the Mini Monks or some live action thing.
Oh, yeah, I've seen
Oh,
that,
yeah.
Yes, that.
Which is
So that was a little strange, seeing them like actually acting, and Ross, oh boys, Now, who's the guy who does this Ross really well?
That would be Chris.
Chris.
That's me.
That's Chris.
Mr.
Chris.
Voice actor himself.
Oh, God.
I heard that and I was like, I kind of got the shivers. It's like, wow.
Want to do an example, Chris?
Like, I don't know, he talks like that. That's Alvin. What are you doing?
Oh.
Get
He
up
has
off
like
the
that
floor.
dull voice.
And Ross's voice was very distinct, and all of us at the studio from time to time we would walk around like doing him, and sometimes we didn't know we were doing him. It's like, oh, could I get dude, you're doing Ross, cut it out, you know. And, so, yeah, it was a gas. I mean, they're really great people. They're very kind of private people, and they don't do a lot of public appearances. I mean, they did a few talk shows and that sort of thing, but.
So, Tom, what inspired you to work for Alvin and the Chipmunks? Were you like looking through job ads, or how did you find them out?
Okay, it's a long story, but I will shorten it. Okay, I went to acting school in New York City, and I decided to move to Los Angeles. And a buddy of mine got me a job at a gas station. So I'm working at a gas station in Hollywood, all greasy and monkey, like a grease monkey. And this very nice lady came in with a flat tire, and we got to talking, and she says, "Hey, do you like working here?" I said, "No." And she said, "Well, would you be interested in another job?" And it's like, I wasn't totally naive, and it's like, okay, what kind of job were we talking about? And she said that a friend of hers was a production manager on a new 3D animated feature film, and he needed a production assistant. And that film was 1985. It was called Star Chaser, The Legend of Orin. And you can look it up. It's a pretty bad movie. It's kind of a Star Wars ripoff. But I worked on that for like 5 years and did a few voices, got my SAG card. Near the end of the production, Ross and Janice were hoping to do the Chipmunk Adventure. They wanted to make a movie. And so they came into the studio, and the first time I met them, I was taking them upstairs to our offices, and I'm in the elevator with them, and I was like, yeah, I know all the words to the Alvin Show song. and stupid me, not knowing them very well, I just started singing it for them. And
that sounds like something I would do.
Yeah, so long story short, we started to, when Star Chaser was over, our studio started working on the Chipmunk Adventure. So that's how I moved from this movie just to kind of, it was a natural progression to working with Ross and Janice on the Chipmunks. I did leave the movie after maybe 6 months to go work on CBS's Mighty Mouse with Ralph Bakshi, if you know who Ralph Bakshi is. I did a season of Mighty Mouse, and then as a production coordinator. When that was over, the Chipmunk Adventure was still in gear, so I got a job back with them on the tail end of the Chipmunk Adventure, and that's why I didn't get a credit on the movie, because you didn't work on the whole movie, Tom. Sorry. So after the movie was over, the TV show was still in production, and I just went from the movie right to working on the show.
Can I go ahead?
I'm learning so much right now.
Yeah, so from a gas station attendant to associate producer of the Chipmunks. Who would have thought, right?
Yeah, who would have thought? So another question: who's your favorite chipmunk, and who's your favorite chipette?
I gotta say Alvin, only because when I grew up, the original Alvin show, Alvin was a little different. He was more mischievous, and he would do anything he could to poke Dave. I mean, the original Alvin show, just that crazy kind of, I hear you, Dave, but I'm not listening kind of thing. So as a kid, I grew up liking Alvin, and I think with the Chipettes, I think I like Jeanette just because she's very sweet and innocent, and so I like Jeanette.
Alvin's my favorite too.
But they're all great. I mean,
In their own way, I guess.
in their own way.
Mm-hmm.
I had one. What was your first reaction when you found out that the Alvin and the Chipmunks TV series was getting a reboot in film format and this new TV series? Were you happy about that, or were you concerned? Or
The honest answer is I was ecstatic that they were finally making a movie kind of incorporating the CGI. Sometimes it's not done very well, but I was really happy for them. And when the movie grosses started coming in from the first movie, and it was reaching, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 million, and it just kept rising, I was completely blown away, because the first movie, The Chipmunk Adventure, if I'm not mistaken, only made, maybe 15, 16 million dollars in its whole run.
I thought it was 8 million.
Oh, was it 8? Yeah, see? I mean, that's even worse. So,
well, that was pretty big.
Thanks, Dan.
Yeah, this thing just exploded, and I wrote to Ross congratulating him on just a phenomenal work, and he wrote me back, and we exchanged some pleasantries and that sort of thing. So I was actually really excited, because I know how hard they work and how really dedicated that both of them are to maintaining the integrity of the characters, because if it couldn't be done right with the kind of the humor and the jokes and that sort of thing, I don't think they would have done it.
I learned from your Facebook account that you have some collectibles of from the TV show from the 80s. So how does it feel having some of those memorabilia?
It's nice. I mean, I have the cells on my wall, and each of them kind of tells a different story about my time there. It's a nice reminder. Actually, the studio in California, we had the first floor and the third floor offices, and there was a sign hanging over the door to the upstairs office, and actually it was the second floor, and one of the artists painted a plaque with the Chipmunks on it, and the number 2 on top of it be like second floor, and I have that. So and I've got some original artwork from the show that some one-offs and some drawings, and some cells that I have. So it's fun to look at every now and then. My favorite pieces I have hanging up in my house.
Were those like from RoboMonk from the last season?
Yes. Chipmunks Go to the Movies, which some people didn't care for, just because it seemed a little kind of hackneyed and cliche, but the network wanted something different for that season, and so how about we go to the movies?
Speaking of Alvin and the Chipmunks Go to the Movies, in the theme song type for that, they have like a Jaws and a Star Wars parody, but those were never made. Were they like planning on making them, or just gonna tease us with the theme song?
I actually wondered that myself when I saw the storyboards for it. Okay, we have Star Wars and Jaws, but we didn't actually do those episodes. If it had gone to another season, that might have happened, but I think when they did the storyboards, they were just looking for catchy, scenes that would encapsulate movies, and I don't think there was any real rhyme or reason to it.
So just make it relevant.
I can understand why they didn't do Jaws, because it's a little bit too scary and graphic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, probably.
Probably
I would be so scared.
It would have been good though.
The Star Wreck episode was kind of funny. Just Ross doing William Shatner doing Alvin. He's like, "Oh, Tom, you're a Star Trek fan. How does Shatner talk?" Well, he kind of does, this staccato thing, and so.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Did you and Russ ever have, off days like where you weren't agreeing with each other?
Where he and I were agreeing each other.
I think it means disagreeing.
Where you guys weren't on like even ground. You were kind of.
Okay, the best way to say it is Ross was very open to opinions and ideas, but in the end, he made all the decisions. If he didn't like something, no, we're not doing that. And you couldn't get your boo-boo feelings hurt. It was a collaborative effort. It was amazing seeing him process work. And, when a scene wasn't working right and he was trying to rework it, and I don't know where this came from. I mean, he would just like, oh, how about we say this and put this line in, and oh wow, that's immensely funnier. He has a mind for story, and it was really fascinating watching him work. So it was kind of intimidating, you know. This is Ross Bagdasarian, you know. This guy, you know, I mean, he's the Chipmunks. So you kind of treaded lightly sometimes. He appreciated input, and he appreciated people being, you know, no BS. You know, don't be a yes man around him.
I can understand why he's just a normal individual. People think that he's a celebrity.
Well, he is a celebrity.
He is.
To us.
Well, he is, but if you were walking down the street, you know, nobody knows him, and
I would be like, oh my gosh.
I mean, you guys would, but yeah, he was very generous. I mean, I don't think that I would have ever had the kind of experience that I had at a different studio. He gave people the opportunity to do things that are kind of unheard of in the industry in terms of giving that freedom. I mean, where else would I have been able to come in as a production assistant? All of a sudden, Tom, guess what? You're my recording supervisor now. Okay, how do I do that? I don't know. I'll try. So, and it was just more responsibility and associate producer, and then, oh yeah, we need to do the final mix for the show, or approve the music for the show. I don't feel like doing it. Tom, go do it. Okay, that sounds good to me. So, you know, I got to write, I got to act, I got to direct. So it was. I really owe them a lot. So.
Well, we've heard a lot about what it was like working with Ross. What was it like working with Janice?
Janice, you know, I worked with Janice less often, only because you know, she had other endeavors. But Ross was at the studio every day. Janice, not so much.
I guess she was.
You know, she would do again the Chipettes, and she was really heavily involved in story as well. So she would also get the scripts and, you know, read them through and make notes and that sort of thing. So she was heavily involved in that aspect. Sometimes it wasn't at the studio. She was just a lovely person. I there's nothing bad I can say about Janice. She's just a really very sweet lady.
And what was it like experiencing that you met their kids?
Well, Vanessa was like 3 years old, and Michael was an infant last time I saw him.
I suppose that's where Janice was, looking after the kids.
Yeah, so Vanessa was actually, I saw Vanessa a lot. She was in the studio, and I'd go to their house and, you know, doing certain runs, and I would see Vanessa a lot. But she was actually in one of the Target commercials that we did back in the 90s for the Chipmunks. So if you guys go to my YouTube channel, DMC Tom, I've got the commercials that we did, and Vanessa is in the commercial.
Oh, that's very cool.
Oh, I'll have to check that out.
Me too.
I bet I've seen it.
I'll
somewhere.
subscribe.
I was looking up stuff.
Yeah. If you see the Target commercial, the one with the photo finish where they're getting their film developed, I did the voiceover for that, and I'm the guy coming out of the door as the Chipmunks run in, and then I'm the guy standing behind the counter that they give the film to. So
That's something.
That's very cool.
No, that's something you don't see every day.
yeah, well, that night we were shooting outside of the Target store, and we were going to try to have the doors open automatically, but you can't make a door open automatically if no one's in front of it. So they tried hooking some fishing line to it, and it kept breaking. And I swear to God, I said, wait a second. All right, I got an idea. I ran into the store. I borrowed someone's jacket. I took a bag, and I shoved it full of clothes. And I said to Steve, the director, I said, okay, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to walk out of the door, and I'm going to throw myself up against the door, pretending I see them run in, okay? Oh, that's freaking brilliant. Awesome. So that's how that
is good, yeah.
I have a question that most of us have been waiting to ask. What's your reaction to the fourth film being released? And after the fourth, because we know it's been 4 years since Chipwrecked. What's your reaction to that?
It's about time. I thought they would do another one sooner, I would imagine Ross decided to maybe give it a break, but now again I'm kind of out on the loop, but there might have been some legal issues.
I mean, I think he doesn't want to sell the characters to anyone because his dad created them, so.
And they're very special to him. Like,
he said that he does it because he wants to. It's a way of keeping his dad alive, sort of.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Exactly, and he had a lot of reverence for his dad, and I think also because Michael and Vanessa are now actively involved in the company, that this is something that should stay in the family, and that the family should keep fostering and keeping alive. I think that's really unusual in today's day and age, where companies sell their properties for hundreds of millions of dollars, and they just wipe their hands and walk away. But he just has a passion for it, and good for him. I mean, his dad did something really great back in the 50s, and being able to keep that alive is pretty phenomenal.
What was your reaction when you found out about our web show? If you heard of it at least.
Well, I was just excited. It's like, oh, people who like the Chipmunks, very cool. I think I'll join. And then, so it just kind of like all you folks reached out to me. So I think that's pretty cool. So.
Well, I bet you're wondering what we do on the show.
Okay. Yes.
Well, we answer questions that people send out, just like they send out the Bagdasarians, and he talks to them, and so we're giving them their best accurate answers, and we also come up with storylines, like creating our own stories. Like mine, for example, is Meet the Dummy, which is sort of like a Goosebumps story in some ways.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been very successful for the past 3 years.
Nice.
That's one way of putting it, I suppose.
Yep.
So has the studio seen any of your guys' stuff? Have they commented, or is it...
Well, we've had a comment respond from the YouTube channel a while back, thinking it was cool, and they might put it on the side of the YouTube channel.
I think someone asked me a question about that in terms of social media. I doubt very highly, knowing Ross and Janice, that they are on social media. I think the kids more likely are doing that for them. Ross was never a technical guy in terms of, wires and computers and that sort of thing. So,
he's an old-fashioned guy.
About 6 months ago, I found I found a box of pictures that was in a box, and it's like, what the heck is this? And I opened it up, and it was pictures from the studio that I took way back when. It was like when we cleared our desks out when we moved from Los Angeles to Santa Barbara. I guess I never brought the box into the office. Well, inside were some pictures of his dad from the CBS era, and it was an original photograph, and I felt so bloody guilty for having it. I immediately sent it back to him, and, hey, Ross, sorry, man, there's a picture of your dad. I know you want this, and he wrote me a very kind letter back thanking me for sending it back to him. So, but other than that, we communicate every now and then, but.
Do you suppose Ross and Janice can, accept ideas from fans, if they were moneymakers, if they were going to be?
Excellent question. We used to get unsolicited submissions all the time, sent in, mailed in, that sort of thing. And unfortunately, they had to reject everything. We couldn't even open it. We had to send it back without opening it. And as much as that sounds awful, it's just... The whole legal thing where if you open something and you read it and then reject it after, someone could then say, hey, that was my idea, you stole it. Mm-hmm. So they were really adamant about not opening that kind of mail. If it looked like it had a script in it, I wasn't allowed to open it. Other than that, I answered the fan mail and wrote letters back to kids and that sort of thing when I was there. But scripts, they would never read them. People would sue for anything, I guess, and we'd have people who would send in demo tapes of songs. I just wrote a great new Christmas song. It's going to be the next thing since sliced bread. It's going to be a moneymaker. You got to listen to it.
Yeah.
And I'd have to write back, as much as we would like to listen to your music, we were not able to. If you can submit it through an agent or some other way, we can't be unsolicited.
My question is, what is your favorite song? Your Alvin and the Chipmunks song.
Oh, Skylar.
The hardest question.
Yeah, it's always my hardest question.
That reminded me of Breaking Bad.
Okay, right. I'm going to go old school on you. The twist.
Yeah, okay.
You know that one?
The Alvin twist?
Because it's where it's like, uh-oh, Dave, I feel it coming on again. Alvin, you will not twist. Uh-oh, yeah. Lean
I
in.
am after that.
Yep, and he pretends he has no control over it, but we all know he does.
Exactly.
Oh, I got another question that you might be surprised at. When you were doing albums, how does it feel meeting like famous singing celebrities that sang with the Chipmunks?
And in the episodes, when we had to redo some of the songs just because it was part of the show, it was like a childhood dream come true because I grew up with it. And it's like sometimes I had to smack myself on the head, and I'm standing here with Ross Bagdasarian Jr. and I'm singing like the Christmas song, or I'm singing, ooh ee ooh ah ah with
Witch Doctor.
Yeah, and there was one episode where we had to sing that. I think it was the Uncle Adventure one, but. Yeah, it was kind of surreal. I mean, there were times when I would be like, I work on the Chipmunks. I mean, I'm on the, it's me. It was a daily kind of wonderful thing. And but no, it was pretty cool.
Chris, if you have any questions, now's the time.
What's up, Chris?
I don't know. As I do all the voices of all the characters. Like, I don't know if it's. Do you think it's a good performance?
I think you do a great job, man. I got to tell you, now when you do the Chipmunks, do you do your Dave voice as you're recording?
Yeah, as Alvin, it's a slightly bit higher, like a higher Dave. But
yes.
As Simon, it's just a normal sort of Dave voice. Yeah.
And I think that's the key, that timbre that Ross has. If you can do Ross, I was actually really impressed. I mean, your Dave voice, I got shivers. Even now, if I see the shows on TV, if they pop up or something, and I hear Ross's voice, I mean, that was him walking through the studio every day. You hear Dave's voice from a corner. Oh, Tom. It's like, it's Dave, It's like it's Saturday morning cartoon Dave calling me. Yes, yeah. Ross, I'll be right there. And then characters that, people remember, kind of fun, I mean, when you get people who go, I know Uncle Willie, you were Uncle Willie? That's right, Davy boy. We're on the island of Howling Marmots. I mean,
nice, awesome.
I was their dog Lily. I was little Pedro. I was robots and cars and bad guys and.
What about Harry?
Uncle Harry was before my time. I didn't work on the Ruby Spears episodes.
No. So you worked on Geek episodes, right?
Yes, I came in right at the tail end of the Ruby Spears episodes. I mean, I was with the company, but I wasn't actively involved in the production. I came in when we went with Deke, and then when we did the syndicated shows with Murakami Wolf, we had to do extra episodes in order to fill out a syndication package. We needed more episodes.
Yeah.
So that's why the Murakami Wolf episodes were done. And then, of course, we went with Deke as the new production company. Ross's relationship with Ruby Spears started to fall apart, and the network wouldn't allow Ross to produce the shows on his own. They wanted him to partner with another animation company. So he chose Deke.
I think I understand why he chose that company, because he wanted to have the same type of animation style and fluid like on the Chipmunk Adventure.
Yes. I mean, it was a change in the shift of the characters, so we kind of took the character designs from the movie and incorporated that into those new episodes with Deke. So, I mean, working with Deke was okay. I mean, they had their own method of working, and Ross had his, and it did not always agree with each other. There was a lot of conflict there, I think it's fair to say. But Deke basically made shows that were like relevant, current kind of things, like New Kids on the Block, or something that no one's going to remember in 20 years. We made the show and the animation. Who cares if it doesn't look good? Ross had a better vision for his characters. He didn't want to do the standard, just crank it out. So his demands were a lot higher. I mean, his expectations, and that caused some conflict. But I think in the end, we got some pretty good work done.
That's pretty amazing.
Yep. So speaking of episodes and stuff, have you seen any of the new cartoon, the Alvin and the Chipmunks?
The ones that airs on Nickelodeon.
Alvin,
And the honest answer to that is I don't have cable. I kind of cut the cord, so I go over the air and over internet. So
you'll find a sneak preview on the YouTube, on the Alvin and the Chipmunks channel.
It's also on nick.com. You can get full episodes.
It's essentially the same TV show, just with a new coat of paint.
Okay,
really.
I'll have to check it out. Yeah, well, I've got a little tape recorder that does half speed, and I have it at work, and people, when kids come in, I'll do an Alvin voice for them, and so.
Yeah.
Do you ever sometimes when you're busy and when you're not doing anything, do you think about your old times of working on Bagdasarian Productions? Do you really miss the days?
I do, because it really was very exciting, and I was doing something that I never thought I would get into. I mean, wanting to be an actor and all that, and getting into production and being able to do voices, it was great. I mean, I miss it. I left Los Angeles to raise my children. I didn't want to raise them there. So I kind of gave up the, film and TV, because, LA was not a place in my mind I wanted to raise my kids. We were there during the riots. And so I moved my family back to Maine, where I was from, and just kind of chose a different path. But no, I mean, when people find out that I was so involved with the Chipmunks and I worked on it and did voices, they kind of look at me and go, "What? Really? And wait a minute, you worked for the Chipmunks and now you're working here?" Yeah. So,
well,
I don't. It's not the first thing I tell people. It's they kind of find out, because I'm. I'll walk around doing Homer Simpson and you're really good. You're really good at voices. It's like, yeah. I used to work on the Chipmunks. What?
What?
Oh, that's right, Marge. Homer J. Simpson.
Oh
Oh, that's
Oh my gosh!
Wow.
We have a fan of The Simpsons that's in here.
Yes,
Jenna.
big fan of The Simpsons.
I like The Simpsons too.
Smithers? Who is that idiot? Simmons, eh? Mr. Burns? I want to raise. Homer!
That's jaw
Wow.
dropping.
Wow.
You really are something, Tom.
Oh, you're so nice.
I've
been working at-
why you left Los Angeles to go back to a civil life, because I know that Los Angeles can be a tough city.
It is. It was exciting and fun. When I was when I was a 20-something, and it was great. And
But I heard when you got married, it sort of changed you, right? Didn't it?
your priorities change, and if any of you are married, your priorities change, and when you hear gunshots outside of your house and your city is burning during the riots, it's like, I think we're gonna get out of here and go back to some place where, when people shoot things, it has 4 legs, not 2. You know, so in Maine, you shoot deer. In Los Angeles, you shoot people. So
That must have been a horrible.
Well,
it was. But now I live in South Florida, where there's more crime than anything. But I don't have the kids are all grown up. So yeah, I've always wondered if on the new shows and the movies, are they doing it the old school way, or whether they're using.
I think so. Yeah, but I think they do the same way, but their voices.
Well, not with a tape recorder. They actually use a program through the computer. So technically, that's not old school.
Yeah, because I know. I mean, with the other actors doing the Chipmunks in the movies, now with the new show, I'm not sure if Ross, has it just so ingrained in his mind that, he has to do Alvin like this. And so
yeah, I'm sure they're still doing it that way with slowing it
it
down.
is still half-speed recording.
But Janet doesn't voice Eleanor anymore. Vanessa does.
Oh, look
yeah,
at that.
I believe I already told him this.
Yeah. In the cartoon, she does.
That's funny. Wow.
It needs to be speeded up a little more, though.
Yeah.
I think it's a question not done it before,
Yeah. Anyway, Chris, why don't you ask the question?
Again.
Well, wait, I have another question, actually.
Oh, okay.
Sure.
Have you heard that Alvin and the Chipmunks Live is coming, they're touring a bunch of places?
Except where I'm at, sadly enough.
I think I learned that through you guys, yes.
It's a live stage which features the Chipettes in it this time, and they used to have the Chipmunks only in the previous shows.
Well, technically they had Brittany in one of them, but technically them weren't live stage, sort of tours. They're kind of like tours, but they're more of, they don't have a storyline. This is a big performance. There's a whole plot and storyline that goes along with this live show.
And they said new music, too.
Yeah, I'm guessing they're going to be performing Call Me Maybe, which was a single that came out a couple, a while back. And it's probably, sneak peeks of songs from different things. I don't know, where they're, if they're going to be in movies or the TV show or what, but there's definitely going to be new music, and that's something I was really excited for. I'm hoping they come out on CD or something like that.
Yeah, the live shows we did were pretty popular. I mean, we did the show that kind of went around the theme parks, and then we did a Christmas live show that I think I put the picture of my script online. But so yeah, we did 2 live stage shows. So
were those like Alvin and the Amazing Camera and the Amazing Computer?
What was that first one? On YouTube. The first one I remember seeing at Magic Mountain, the first time, in full regalia, and because I'd go to the rehearsals. I can't remember what the plot was. It was just, them singing and dancing and bringing a kid on stage and that sort of thing. And then the Christmas one was basically the animated Christmas show put on stage for the most part.
Interesting.
With little Timmy,
and the harmonica.
The harmonica. And,
Alvin and his harmonica. Okay.
Yeah. It's funny, the show that I went to, they took my son at the time and brought him on stage as Timmy at the end.
Oh my gosh.
He didn't want to do it. He didn't want to do it. He's like, "Oh, Dad, I don't want to go up there." Like,
at stage fright.
Yeah, don't have to say anything. Just let him walk you out, and Alvin's going to give you a harmonica, okay?
And also, Tom, I bet you're wondering how many seasons and episode numbers that you'll be seeing for the new TV show that's on Nick.
I heard they were doing a crazy number of, is it like in the hundreds, like 100 and something episodes? Or?
Well, they have 2 seasons lined up, and it's 104 episodes long.
Whoa.
That's a lot of work.
Are they 15 minutes each?
You're 11 minutes, actually.
11 minutes, yeah.
Yes, and Nickelodeon has the nerve to speed them up.
What?
To make them commercials.
They did the unthinkable. They sped the Chipmunks up. They sped the Chipmunks song up.
Because in the UK it was just normal and not as sped up.
Right.
I'm sure it'll be like that when the seasonal box sets come out next year.
Oh yeah. I already ordered the French one.
Yeah, I noticed that with some of the Murakami Wolf shows. I caught it one day. It's like, wait a second, that doesn't. Dave is too high. Did they speed this up? So,
Dave, are you drunk?
Yeah.
That was the funniest part.
Are you drunk?
Drunk. Oh, she was such a. I love Jodie Goodman. She was such a wonderful lady, and she's as nutty as she is as Miss Miller. I can't believe it. I mean, I would
believe that.
You know,
I would.
Dodie didn't drive a car, so whenever we needed her to record, I actually had to go to her house, pick her up, and drive her to the studio, and then take her home. So she was just like, "Oh dear, look at the traffic. Oh dear."
Oh my.
Oh gosh, it's real live Miss Miller. Oh gosh.
And again, I'm sitting there driving the streets of Los Angeles, and I got Dodie Goodman sitting next to me in my car, and it's like, okay, reality check. You know, so it was times like that were, you know, and then, you know, when I met Will Smith and I got to direct him for the 30th anniversary special, Ross was actually supposed to be there for that recording session to work with him on putting in. We needed a couple extra lines for the special, and we needed him to do some voiceover to insert them. And Ross comes in that morning and says, yeah, Tom, you're going to have to fly solo on the Will Smith thing. I got something planned. And I kind of went, excuse me? Okay. Oh my God, I was so nervous. I couldn't believe it. I was going to be in the studio directing Will Smith, and I was like, oh, hi, nice to meet you. You know, I mean, I was so starstruck, and but
he was so big back then. Still is.
Oh,
I guess.
yeah, it was just like, it's the Fresh Prince. Oh my God, he's in front of me, and I'm telling him what to do. Isn't that great? So. Yeah, but in that episode, in the special, at the very end, the original line was, the Chipmunks, musical geniuses or helium addicts.
Oh gosh.
Can you tell which word the network didn't like? So I had to have him in, and if you look carefully, we had to have him say, the Chipmunks, musical geniuses or helium actors. So.
That's how I thought they did it for a while. Yeah. But then I read a little further into it, and you heard that they speed the voices up. I'm like, oh, okay. No wonder. I thought that Justin Long and all them were inhaling helium to do the voices.
I think I remember, like, in the first movie where Alvin was, like, having that balloon, and he was like, Major Rockstar. Like, he was doing that.
Major Rock.
That was, like, so funny. It was like, Major Rockstar.
And Dave, like, you know, is like, no. Like, stop. Like, no. And he, like, takes it from him, and then, oh, gosh, yeah. The Chipmunks. Oh, here's a good question. This has been kind of a debate, as in, you know, the fan base and everything like that, because they haven't always been confirmed. Do you know what age the Chipettes were in the 80s series? I know the ages of the Chipmunks, but it was never said, as far as I know, as to what the ages of the Chipettes were, as if they're younger or older than the Chipmunks or anything.
Oh, wow, yeah. I always kind of imagine them being like 8. You know, I mean, because they're still in elementary school.
Yeah, they aren't. The Chipmunks are. They were 8 and 9.
Right, but then in the movie they went to high school, right?
Yeah, so they're. We think they're 16. Or they're. Yeah, it's been confirmed to be they're in high school in the new TV series as well.
Oh, okay.
And also, Tom, I bet you're wondering where the animation was done for the new show.
Yes, the CG.
Yep, Audio Productions in France.
France. Wow.
It is unusual.
New Productions.
Huh.
Yeah. They teamed up with Bagdasarian Productions.
Audio.
The episodes.
You said audio though. I kept doing that for a while, and it was like, no, it's French. It's We Do Productions, and like, I'm like sitting there like, oh, oops.
Okay.
Well,
that's interesting.
Go ahead, Tom.
No. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, it used to have a different name before they changed to be. It used to be Gennaro Productions.
Yeah, I know.
Trivia.
I know my chipmunk.
And I do remember on Facebook that they showed a production picture of the Ross and Janice and the Audio Productions animation crew standing by the front entrance.
Mm-hmm.
I think you'll find that on their Facebook page.
Yeah. So did they go over there and work on the production, or?
Oh yeah, they came up for a visit to see how they were doing.
Nice. Yeah, because I couldn't imagine them just giving someone free reign. I mean, just knowing how hands-on they are.
Yeah.
That, and there's something new about the fourth movie. They changed up something, like they were in association with like Dune. It's like a new thing called Dune Entertainment or Sunset Entertainment. I can't remember what it's called. Mm-hmm. It's a new production company, I think.
Yeah.
I think it's under Rents and Enterprises.
Anyway,
I'm not sure.
What is it, Chris?
Given the opportunity, would you go back?
Yes, 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 yes.
Boring life.
No,
So.
I mean, unequivocally, yes.
Yeah.
I would, if Ross called me tomorrow and, oh, gee, Tom, I need you to work on the show. It's like, how fast can I get there? Yeah, I mean, yeah, it'd be cool. I mean, coming at it again, later in life, I mean, I'm not an old guy, I'm 54, but, having, more experience and, but
yeah.
No, yeah, that would be a blast to work on the show again. Not that I seriously doubt my phone will ever ring or I'll get an email from Ross, but no, that would be cool.
And also, I don't know if I should ask you the favor of this, but if you were going back to Rags and Productions one day, would you be our sponsors, like to meet the Bagdasarians in person?
Sponsors.
Like him introducing us.
Again, the chances of me ever getting back to California are pretty much zero. But
I'm talking about it if it's a possibility.
I think he's talking hypothetically, really.
Yeah, hypothetically.
Yeah,
I'm sure. I mean, see, the thing with Ross and Janice, you can always run something by them. And he didn't mind that, but when it would be like, yeah, no, thanks. Okay, all right. It's like I tried to get some of my friends to do voices for the show because they were actors, and we weren't going to pay them, because he didn't want to pay them, and so Ross, would it be okay if a friend of mine did a couple voices? Yeah, I don't think I'm comfortable with that. All right, no problem. It's okay. That's good. So when we were working with Target on merchandising, I used to get all the samples and approving them, and then you're not going to throw samples away. So, hey, kids, hey, you want a chipmunk backpack? Here you go. It's a sample. I had so much stuff. I mean, it was crazy how much stuff I had that was sent to us for approvals, and dolls that were the wrong color that we rejected. I kept it, that kind of thing, and
Blue Britney.
And I understand that you on your Facebook page you still have a work jacket, like a crew jacket from the time during.
That was already mentioned, Dan.
Yes. Yep.
Is it in mint condition?
It is in good condition. I would not say mint because I actually wore the heck out of it. So it's been in a closet for a long time, and I pulled it out just to take a picture of it, but I should probably get it dry cleaned, I think.
Yeah. When in the merchandise process, was there ever any like Chipette stuffed animals, like for the CBS plushies they have with the chipmunk with the changeable outfits, or like any Chipette plushies? Because we only have like the rag dolls they had, and the Chipette dolls, which are really, really expensive, and the rag dolls are really hard to find. Was there ever any Chipettes?
Wow. I mean, I remember approving mostly chipmunk stuff because the campaign was the chipmunks are coming to Target, so it wasn't really totally geared towards the girls. There might have been. I mean, we had clothing line for girls from the Chipettes, So there were a lot of clothing designs incorporating the girls. I mean, there must have been some dolls, I would imagine, but...
I can understand why they didn't do that much, and that is until now. It's because they weren't technically inclined in the franchise as they are now.
They weren't as famous.
Yeah, and the clothing line, obviously, you wanted to appeal to boys and girls, and the commercial that Vanessa is in features Brittany as well, you know, talking about an exciting line of chipmunk fashions and Chipette. You know, they're and then they're arguing. Chipmunk, Chipette, Chipmunk, Chipette.
I remember that.
I've actually used that joke a couple times.
One of the pet peeves I have about like today's like merchandise for the clothes is like they always make it for like the younger kids, and I'm like, I want an Alvin shirt. Like, why did you
That's the
give me an Alvin
demographic.
shirt? Like, luckily I can see like I sometimes, you know, the shirts will be bigger, so I'm like looking through the kids section and like looking through the Chipmunks. I'm like, oh, it fits me, mine. And I'm like, and people are like, what's wrong with you, weirdo?
Yeah,
Well,
I'm lucky, Melissa, because most stuff from the kids department still fits on me.
Yeah, I put it to large, kids large and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, they should they should do the retro things like they do, like Bazinga and Shazam and all those things at like Hot Topics.
Yeah.
You know, they should have they should do larger adult sizes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wish they did. Yeah, because it's like, you know, when you're a Chipmunk fan, like, you want to have, like, you know, stuff to wear around. Like, hey, I'm a Chipmunk fan. I like the Chipmunks. I'm wearing a shirt. Chipmunk.
Yes, even if it means you get picked on at school.
I get called Alvin all the time.
I don't go to school.
So do I,
so-
but that's because I dress
I
up
have
like
an Alvin
for Halloween.
Yeah,
Nobody ever bullied me about liking the Chipmunks. Nobody really ever bullied me about that. They thought I was pretty cool doing all the video editing, photo editing, animation, all that stuff. I'm like, I feel like I was like the only one at school. It was kind of funny, but they liked it because they liked me for like how I did it and stuff, and they were like, "That's so cool! You gotta teach me how to do this." And I'm like, sure." I mean, but most of them ignored me because they were jealous.
Well, there you go. You know, everybody has something they're into. You know.
Yeah.
Well, and Tom, I have a question that might give you your opinion.
Okay.
You know about Alvin the Chipmunks Meet the Wolfman was the last project that they did in traditional animation. How do you feel about them switching from traditional animation to CG animation after it ended?
I think it was inevitable. You know, with all the other CG-based characters that came out. I mean, they did Garfield. I think Scooby-Doo. They did him. Was it Scooby that they did animated or CG?
Yeah, Stuart Little.
So it was kind of a natural progression, I think, and just the next step in the evolution of the characters. Kind of reverting back to their original 1950s look, where they actually were the same size as chipmunks and look like chipmunks instead of pseudo humanoid boys. So I think they were just trying to keep it fresh and keep it up to date, and I thought it was a brilliant move, especially since the three movies have just raked in so much money, and that they always come out at Christmas time because that's kind of the chipmunk thing,
Tradition.
Christmas, so.
And by the way, Tom, I bet you're wondering how tall the chipmunks and chipettes are in the new series. I think they're about a foot tall.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think they're the size of a Pepsi liter bottle, I think.
They are.
Okay, so they have grown from the movies, but not as big as the TV series.
Nope.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, all right. They're kind of in the middle monks.
Yeah.
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 In fact, there's one time the principal tells Alvin to take a seat, and when he does, she can't see his head, so she's like, "Oh, sorry, stand up."
Like, why did they add Ian back into the Chipwreck movie, and why did they add Zoe? Because there's a lot of people that are I don't know, they were kind of not really liking it as you know what I mean,
My understanding about David Cross was that he absolutely hated it, and that there was some kind of falling out between he and someone on the production facility. I don't know whether he had a run-in with Ross and Janice.
They said it wasn't Ross and Janice.
Right. Later, initially it seemed that was the case, but then I did read that he said that that was not the case. So I'm not sure who he had differences of opinions with, and he was contracted to do 3 movies, so he couldn't get out of it, so he had to be in number. But again, that's pretty much stuff that you guys have probably read, and I read the same thing. So
yeah. Also, in one of his interviews, he actually said something really nasty and mean about the Chipmunks. So I'm glad he's not going to be in this 4th film, because anyone that disrespects the Chipmunks like that, like, you know.
Yeah, I mean, for him it was another job, and it was just, you know, he's kind of an on the edge sort of comedian. I mean, I'm surprised they used him, but he just, you know, it wasn't his thing, and it's like, oh man, they're gonna do 2 more. I didn't think they would do another one. Maybe that was it. And oh no, they're gonna do a 3rd one. So, you know, put me in a chicken suit and, you know, whatever. And
I think that kind of embarrassed him.
I would think so, and I don't know if they did that on purpose to him because of any falling out. It's like, hey, how do we get back at David Cross? I know. Let's put him in a chicken suit.
Pelican. It was a pelican.
Or was it pelican?
I like to think that's how it
Nothing
happened.
cooler than a grown man in a pelican suit.
And they even rubbed it in with that line, so it does seem like that's what happened. Do you like them, the new movies?
Yeah, actually I do. I enjoyed them immensely. I mean, I thought they were well done. You know, the first movie when Theodore is afraid and he, you know, gets into bed with Dave. It was just the sweetest scene ever. I love that.
I know, right?
You know, I'm scared, and you know, he snuggles up next to him, and you know that had Janice written all over it. And so, but no, they do a great job, and you know, they need to keep it out there in the public. So I think they're doing a great job.
Well, I think what they do is they try to make the Chipmunks try to join situations that real kids can understand.
Well, yeah, that's what they said before.
Right.
What did it strive for?
Right, and when Ross works and Ross and Janice work, they have that kind of childlike thing where they can just dive right into it, and they just know what works. And again, I mentioned earlier just how fascinating it is, you know, to see the 2 of them work. But yeah, I mean, they're very good storytellers. They know how to write, and you know, so yeah, I'm not surprised that they did as well as they did. I mean, so.
Well, they've been involved in this for a good 30 years now.
Oh yes, I remember when Chipmunk Punk came out. It
Have
was
that on record.
yeah, that was the first album that came back out, and heard it on the radio, and I was like, oh my God! I called the radio station, and it's like, you got to play me Chipmunk Punk, play My Sharona, and
Oh, I love that song.
I was working at a movie theater in Maine at the time, and we were actually working with this radio station on some radio ads, and I kid you not, I was calling in so much asking for them to play it that the station knew that I worked at the movie theater, and they made a tape, and they gave it to him, say, hey, give that guy Tom Watkins his tape so he stops calling in asking for chips. So I was like, ooh, I got an unauthorized copy of the Chipmunks.
There's a lot of negativity around the Chipmunks sometimes. People tend to call them
everyone booed, and I told them in Alvin's voice to mind their own business.
Like, how do you feel about that? About the sort of the haters, you know? I mean, I know everyone's entitled to their own opinion, but you know, they outright insult the whole franchise. And,
yeah,
I can't explain
there's some on Facebook, if you ask me.
You know, guys, if there's anything that I've learned from Facebook is that people will argue and fight over anything. I think people who hate are going to hate, and you know, maybe something they're into that you don't like. So it's all ridiculous, I think, that people would do that, but you can't stop stupid.
There's always going to be unhappiness in the world sometimes.
Here's
Yes.
a big question that is kind of been going around and stuff. There's a lot of people that, going on the same subject as hate and stuff, there's like a whole section of the fan base that just likes the 80s cartoon. And they say that, in the movies that the characters aren't the same. Do you think that that's true, that their personalities has changed from the movies and they're not in character? Or do you think that, they're just being a little too overdramatic about it?
Pedantic.
Well, that's a hard question because everyone has their favorites and people tend to not like change. When we went from the Ruby Spears style to the Deke style, we got a lot of fan mail saying, oh my God, what did you do? This is wrong. And, we loved we loved the way Alvin looked before. And, it comes from the heart. Most people that, they love something so much, they don't want it to change.
Absolutely.
But, I don't know. You either like the new stuff or you don't. And
I got a feeling that as long as there's fans around, the franchise will continue.
Well, that's kind of the point.
Oh, no doubt.
a whole new generation of kids being introduced to it is what keeps it alive, And then you got, old guys like me who remember the 50s or the 60s show and, just have that as part of your childhood.
Yeah, then you have like the fans that just go back and watch everything like me, like
Well, it's
over and
nice.
over again.
Yeah, it's nice seeing guys like you, younger, people enjoying it as much as I did. It's like kind of generational. It's nice that these characters have spanned this many generations.
Despite that, the Chipmunks were here for almost 60 years, and the Chipettes have only been around for 30.
Yeah. Wow, 30. Oh my gosh.
Here's a question. For like the movies and stuff, do you think that they'll continue like to create, another one after this fourth film, or do you think that they'll stop it and then they'll go to the cartoon form for the permanent one?
I think as long as the movies make money and there's a studio willing to back it, I think that they will continue making movies. It may be more spread out, but I think as long as it's doing well and the characters are still well received at the box office, there's really no reason not to.
Yeah, they should do a prequel with the Chipettes.
Yes, we need like a backstory on the Chipettes.
We need to know how they got in that FedEx package.
And how Miss Miller became their mother.
That was the whole
Well,
that was the
I
whole point
heard
of the
you
Munkcast, wasn't
say
it?
that it will last for a saga of 6 films, like Star Wars did.
Well, there is a rumor going around that there's going to be up to 6 films in the CGI things, but it could be counting, the Chipmunk Adventure,
It could. I don't know. It's as long as it, again, I think as long as it keeps doing well at the box office.
I have sort of a collection of Alvin the Chipmunks comic books from the 90s. This one has been, it kind of gets me concerned. Are some of the stories from the comic books based off actual episodes, or did they came off of ideas that weren't made into episodes?
So the 90s comic books, were those the ones that were produced in England?
No, they were made in the U.S.
Oh.
I have all 4.
I don't know if I've ever seen those.
Well, I have them on my shelf.
Yeah, I know we did a cartoon series with in the UK, but I haven't seen any of the US-based ones.
Well, some of them are based off of actual episodes, and some are based off of original ideas that were going to be made into episodes.
Yeah, I don't know about those.
Do you know about the 60s comics that they produced?
I actually have a bunch of those somewhere. I've got some Clyde Crash Cups and some Alvins that I've picked up over the years. So yeah, I've got old 60s ones from the old show.
And have you seen the live action sequence of the Munkiverse where you see the Alvin puppet?
I don't think so. I mean, moving to the
Don't
Moncast.
open them.
The original series, I was not good with animation at all. Still not. So it looks really bad. You know, it's the voice acting that I focused on because I'm a voice actor. So
Yes. In the world of Saturday morning animation, you have very little opportunity to change things or, you know, redo things and get it right. So I mean, it's a crazy thing putting together a Saturday morning show. I mean, you're recording, you're editing, you're sound mixing, I mean, it just final telecine and final edit for the studio, and it's all happening at once. And you get back really bad animation sometimes, and we can't always get retakes. So you have to try to fix it in post-production, which can be difficult. But yeah, the animation wasn't great. And working with Deke, I think we got the best out of them when they normally would do okay work.
okay, well, we've actually run out of time, so we're gonna have to end it there.
Okay, everybody take care. Thanks so much. Good talking
Yep.
to y'all.
Bye, Tom.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
See you soon.